Welcome to part 3 of the React crash course. In this part, we'll discuss hooks, which is a new feature that is a part of React since React 16.8. React hooks allow you to have a state in your component. And there are multiple ones that are available, but the one that on which we'll focus in this video is the useState React hook. Looking at our example app, we see that we have the name, description, age, etc. But wouldn't it be cool if we could edit the name and edit the description? Adding that feature in the app will require hooks. So let's get started. So first, we'll create a new component, and this component will be for adding editable strings. So here, I'm gonna create a folder, call it editable string. I'm gonna add an index.js file. String is equal to open the bracket for default editable string. Now, how I envision this editable string is going to be a button that when you click, the field is going to transform into an input. You'll be able to input the new value, click save, and then the name or the description is going to show up as that value. So here I've created my editable string component, and it's very basic for now. So I pass in an initial value and I return this initial value. Here in my profile, I've imported that component. And as you can see, I have the name field, and instead of just putting the name, I show it through the component. So here I have my editable string component, and I pass down the name as the initial value. And if I go back to the code, as you can see, it's the same thing as before. Now we need to add more logic on top of it. And here in the editable string component, I added a button called edit, which you can see here in the app, but it does nothing for now. This button, I wanted to switch to a save button when I click on it. And when I click on the save button, I wanted to switch back to an edit button. So I need to track a edit mode somewhere. And that's where the useState hook is gonna come in. I'm gonna start here on top. And I'm gonna do import, open the brackets, useState, which is the hook you want to use. And I take it from the React library. And just verify that if you have React, it is React more than 16.8. So here I have 17.0.1, so I am fine, I can use React hooks. And now to use my hook, I'm gonna do this, const, open, maybe I can call it edit mode, and set edit mode is equal to useState false. Let me just explain what I did here. So while opening the square brackets just allows us to destructure the element returned by useState. The first variable, edit mode, is if it is true, it means that I am in edit mode. If it's false, I am not in edit mode. I am therefore in view mode. Set edit mode is a function that will allow me to change the edit mode. And I pass here to useState the value false because by default, I want not to be in edit mode. So this value is the default value of my hook, of my state. So now I'm gonna go to the button. I'm gonna go onClick equal to handle click. Or maybe handle button click. And this handle button click is going to be a function. I call here. And what this will do is change the edit mode. So set edit mode to not edit mode. Meaning that if the edit mode was at false, I put it at true, and if it was true, I set it at false. So it inverses the value. And just to see really quick that my code is working correctly, I'm going to console.log the edit mode. Just to verify that, demonstrate to you the what happens. Open this on the console. So it starts, edit mode is false, it's normal. I click, it's true. I click, it's false. True, false, true, false. And this mode is now in the state of the component. And I can use it to change the logic. I've now added the editable field. Now if I click on edit, edit becomes you, and the value changes for an input. If I go to the code, all this was accomplished. Just remove this console log. I can just use my state as a conditional. If it is on the edit mode, I show the input and the button, the new button with the view value. And if it's not in edit mode, therefore I show the value and the button to go in edit mode. Now the app is starting to look like a real app. There's actual stateful logic in it. But I still want to do some more things. For example, here, if I start typing, I can't really change the name. So how do I fix that? We'll fix that with using the state again. And the state, this time, instead of holding a Boolean value like the edit mode, is going to contain the new value of the input. Let's do the change. Now back again, I made some more changes. And now it's starting to look like a real app. You can now edit the value. So here, I see the name. It's called code climbing. I click on edit. It shows the input as previous, but now I can change the value. So I can put my name like this. Click on save. And voila, the name is now my name. It's actually changing the value that is in the state. Now, if I look in the code, how I did that, it's very simple. So here, I created a new useState value called value, and the function called setValue. So value contains the current value of the name, and setValue is the function that is going to change the value. Same thing as the edit mode that I shared previously. So here I'm just doing the same thing as with the edit mode. I have a value that contains the current value of the string, a setValue function that changes that value, and then I do useState initial value, meaning that the value that I pass down to the component is going to be the default value of the string. And here, if I go to the input, the value of the input is the value because it changes. And then on the unchanged, I call the handle input change function, which is this one, which returns an event that contains the new string that is inside the input. And with either target that value, I can get that string. And I just put it inside setValue to change the value to this value. And that is how I'm able to, on typing, change the value. And when you click on save, it simply flips and go back to the initial mode. But before you go wild with this new knowledge, there's some things that you have to know. It's called the rules of hooks. There are a few rules that you must obey for using hooks. The first rule is that these hooks can only be used in React components. So in this case, it is a React component because it returns some JSX. But if it was not returning some JSX, it was just a normal JavaScript function, you could not use a React hook. If you did that, the app would show an error. The second rule that you need to obey with hooks is that it must be at the top level of your React component. For example, here, my hooks are declared completely at the beginning at the top. One consequence of that is that I cannot, for example, call my hook in an if statement. For example, I cannot do like if initial value can you call, for example, this. If I were to do that, if I go to the app, here we see that it shows an error, and the error says React hook useState is called conditionally. You cannot do that. And that's it for this part of the React Class course. You have now learned a very important concept. In the next week, we're gonna talk about another important React hook, which is the use effect hook. So see you next week.